name is Ronnie. I am a donor egg mom in waiting. And what that just means is I was told by my doctor in order for me to conceive or try for a chance for a baby, I needed donor eggs. And so I ended up getting a donor. For those who've been following my journey, you know that I just recently had a loss. It's okay. We're going to move forward. Working with my doctors on next steps to do. And so what I wanted to do is I see stories, they're featured everywhere. I see them on different platforms. I wanted to bring some kind of neutral of stories of all of us together so that somebody could see this and see the interviews and be like, okay, and identify with someone who looks like them. So when I do an interview, it's for women of primarily of color who have done some sort of medical intervention, or an unconventional way to build their family, whether it be through IVF, egg donation, embryo donation, surrogacy, and or adoption. So we have Diane on the panel here. I met her or just been seeing her posts, been following her on Instagram. She has a huge following there. And she talked about her journey to conceive pretty much from the beginning, I think, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So we can walk through. I know that you said that y'all tried, I guess, naturally for 10 years, maybe almost a decade. And what prompted you to just not do anything naturally? What prompted you to just say, okay, we're just gonna keep going?
I think, yeah, we just kept trying and, we were going to wait on the Lord. And then the Lord said, this is your route. And that's what we did.
Okay. So what was the last straw for you to say we need to probably go get some labs and do some blood work and see what they say? And how old were you when you decided to do that?
Yep, that's it right there. Because I was getting older. I was 37 and my husband was 36. And we were just at the point where we were like, are we going to do this or not? Because if not, then I'm ready to grieve of not having children forever. But if we're going to do this, then we better go through IVF now. And we finally made the decision to go through IVF. So yeah, I'll talk about that in my story also. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm Diane. I am 42 years old, and my husband and I, we have been married for 14 years now. We have gone through 4 rounds of IVF, two unsuccessful and two successful. So I hope that you hearing my story would be an encouragement for you, because I know typically once women have their miracle babies, then it's like, bam, you're out of the club, And I'm kind of like, I don't know where I fit in right now. But, as I was sharing with some of my friends recently, and I've always desired more children. So I always feel like this infertility desire, this feeling is always going to live in me because I just know that I've always wanted more children. But, I'm very content with the blessing that God has given to both my husband and I with my son and my daughter. Um, I have some notes. So if you see me looking this way, that's what I'm doing. But my husband and I got married in 2010, and we decided to start building our family a year later. And if you're looking at me, you're like, oh, what nationality is she? She's not Chinese. But my nationality is Hmong, Hmong. And it's not, we don't have a country, but we're like a tribe out of Laos and Thailand. And if you've never heard of us, I don't blame you because we're a really small tribe. But I kind of wanted to share a little bit about that because in my community, it is like you're looked down upon if you cannot bear your husband a child. And for a long time, I kind of lived with that. A lot of, grown folks who just don't know when to stop asking when you're going to have kids. Um, just kept asking me over and over, like, when are you guys gonna have kids? Like, if you can't give your husband a child, then he can leave you, right? He can go to the motherland and go marry someone else. And I'm like, I know, and of course, like, part of me felt really guilty because it's my body. And I would even say to him sometimes, like, maybe I'm not the one for you. I know you always wanted children, and maybe you do need to go back to the motherland or find somebody else who's going to give you children. And I mean, thank God he's a God-fearing man, and he's like, no, like, I want to be with you. And partial is because of my dad left my mom, because although my mom was bearing him children, it wasn't as many boys as my dad would like. So and cultural wise, like, it's just really insane. So I fell into the trap of, thinking it's my fault, and if you want to be with somebody else, then, like, I give you the permission to. So again, thank God that my husband was like, no, I'm gonna stick with you through thick and thin. If we ain't gonna have any children, then that's just who we're gonna be. Um,
And you guys are both from the same cultural base.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yep. So he's mom too. And at the time we were living in Seattle and we were kind of trying, but I mean, I think uh marriage is hard. And the first 5 years that we were together, I mean, I'm from Atlanta, he's from Seattle. So, dating long distance is already hard. But when you're married and live together, dating and marriage is a whole nother story. So those 5 years, I feel like we were trying to get to know each other. And, you just learn so much about a person. And, I was like, is our marriage going to make it, and he was the same way. If we're not going to make it, then we shouldn't have kids together. So we were kind of, that's why it took so long, because we were like trying to, like, basically make it work. And I'm so glad that we did, though, because I don't think that our marriage would be this strong, especially with kids now. So I
Right.
don't regret it. I mean, I always say, oh, I wish I would have started earlier, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't, because who knows if we would have ended up together. So lots of therapy and all that stuff. So I'm just glad that everything worked out. Um, but as I shared earlier, so it was like 9 years later, 2019, we were like, are we gonna do this? Because we both are getting younger. We don't have the energy like we used to. We've already traveled. We did all the things that we wanted to do. Like, what's the plan? Because if we're not gonna do this, I've always heard that when you decide that you don't want children anymore, it's like grieving the death of a child.
Right.
And that's what I was ready to do, because nothing was happening. And so I was like, if it's not going to happen, let me grieve and let me just, move on. Let's move on with our lives, and we're just going to be aunties and uncles. And so I think we both just really, like, we fasted, we prayed about it, and we were like, you know what? This desire in our heart has never left for 9 years. So we knew in our hearts that we have to start pursuing the infertility route of seeing a doctor. And so that's what we did. We first went to a clinic, and when we first met the doctor, we liked the practice, but we didn't really like her personality. And I mean, if you know, IVF clinics are all about money, money, money. And that's what she made it sound to be like. And we were like, no, like, we want someone to empathize with us. We want someone in our corner. We want someone cheering us on. And we just didn't feel that from her. So
Right.
we switched clinics like maybe a couple months later. And then we found the facility that we really liked. We found the doctor that we really liked. So to anyone who is ever going to start IVF or whatever, make sure you love the practice. Make sure you like the doctor. Again, it's a lot of money that you're putting into. So make sure that you invest in the right person that wants the same thing as you. Um,
And that's what we say all the time. We said that you know, it's funny, like, y'all don't talk to each other or don't know, but everyone says the same thing. Like, I even suggest that when you're starting your IVF clinic, like, in your mind, you think, well, I'm just gonna go to this place, I'm gonna like it. I say book every consultant that you can, because it's basically window shopping. You're
mhm.
seeing if you like that doctor, the nurse, the clinic itself, before you even go. And I would hate for you to get to a clinic, don't like them, and then you gotta wait another 6 months or 3 months or whatever for another appointment somewhere else.
Yep. Yep, I totally agree because going in, you're already so vulnerable. So
Yeah.
the first clinic that you go to, they tell you all these things, and you think, okay, this is what I have to do. But yeah, if I would have done it again, I wish that I would have, booked like several appointments because yeah, it kind of wasted my time. But I'm glad we found the doctor and the facility that we did because we should have researched their success rate first. And I was like, okay, so after we did that, then that's the clinic that we went with.
What clinic
Yeah.
did you end up going to?
We went to RBA, which
RBA.
is in Sandy Springs and
Shapiro?
Lawrenceville. Yeah, Dr. Shapiro's
Okay,
office.
okay.
Dr. Sladen was my doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of them or you been to the
Dr.
clinic?
Sladen, Dr. Best.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that
But
clinic.
everybody likes Sladen. A lot of people like Shapiro, and everybody, I know a lot of people that they love Dr. Best. So
Yeah.
I didn't go to RBA. I think that's the only one in Atlanta I didn't go to, but everybody kind of raves about RBA here.
Yeah. I would rave about, if I'm being honest, I would rave about them then. I don't know about now.
Now.
I would prefer to be somewhere else, but yeah, then they were a really great practice. So yeah. And then first of all, I didn't even know what IVF was because we were trying to pursue IUI because I just know that it was cheaper. And
Right.
so I was like, let's try that. And then I had my HSG done, found out that both of my fallopian tubes were blocked. So I had no chance at IUI. And so they were like, you just have to go straight into IVF. And of course, that like killed my heart and killed my bank, but that's what we had to do. So, yeah, that was like my only option.
Did they know why your tubes were blocked, or they didn't go into it?
Yeah,
Did you get your tubes removed?
I didn't.
Okay.
But they said that both of my tubes were scarred, and so like the way the fallopian tube hangs, like nothing was going in and nothing was going out, and they don't know like it could have been when it started from puberty. I mean, there's just nothing that they could really say how my tubes were scarred. So
So
yeah,
how did you feel knowing that for 10 years y'all have been trying and they were basically the rug is put on your head, like we could have kept trying and then like there would not have been a baby.
yeah, I mean, I was devastated. I mean, especially because again, like when my husband and I first got married, we were trying and we it was like the blame game, it's like, is it me? Is it you? What? When like both of us didn't want to get tested because we didn't really want to know like who the problem was. And so
Right.
I was like, well, it's probably me because I mean, that's just what we do, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I was devastated to know that. I mean, I'm like, I couldn't even have just one fallopian tube work. Why gotta be both of them? So, yeah.
Cut me some slack.
Yeah, well, I was just like, really? Yeah,
Listen, God, if you didn't want me to have a baby, just say that.
yeah, exactly. And like, I have five sisters and one brother, and they're all super fertile. They all have like more than two, three, four, five kids. And so I thought, I can't be, it can't be me. But like they say, one out of eight struggles with infertility. And I'm like, yep, I'm the one in my family. I'm the only one
Right.
in my family. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's the story God wrote, and so that's fine. Um, so yeah, so when we first decided that we were going to pursue IVF, it was November the 30th, 2019. I remember that date very well, because it just passed and I celebrate it every single time. When we first did our first shots going into retrieval mode again, like this stuff is so brand new. Like again, like you're so vulnerable. You don't know what the heck you're doing. You're just like going along. And luckily, I had friends who were walking that road with me, so that I understood like what a retrieval was. Like I don't know. I didn't know that they were like going to
Right.
create babies and all that stuff. So
Right.
if any of you guys are listening to this and you need someone to walk hand in hand with you, like please holler at me. Like again, I wish that I knew things before I went through this journey. So I'm like a big advocate on that. Um, yeah, so we did that, and then we did what was it? We did the retrieval was done in December, but I couldn't do the fresh transfer because my levels were too high. And then which was kind of a blessing because we ended up with 11 embryos, and we sent them out for genetic testing, and then only 6 came back, or they deemed it viable. So we were like, okay, well, at least we know which ones we're going to implant or what. And so we had 2 boys and 4 girls that were deemed viable, and we told them to implant the best graded embryo. And again, like we waited 9 years, so we were like, we don't want to know the gender, just put the baby in, and we're gonna surprise ourselves on delivery day because it'll be like the cherry on top. So that's what they did, and it was like our highest graded embryos, like 5AA or whatever the highest one was. And that first embryo didn't stick, and so we were like so devastated. And I again, like, you just think you go into this IVF thinking that it's you're guaranteed a baby, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I did this to my body, I paid all this money, and I didn't get a baby. And so yeah, we were like, we thought we checked all the boxes. And again, when there's a failed transfer, they can't even tell you why, um,
Right.
which is so hard, like, to hear. And so then we immediately after that, after my next cycle came, we were like, okay, let's go again. So I started doing injections. Like, in the middle of my cycle, my doctor calls me and tells me that they have to pause it because freaking COVID.
COVID.
And I'm pissed because here I was already injecting myself, like, I don't know, like, weeks. So yeah, so we had a pause there for 4 months, which felt like forever. And it was like you have to, like, get your body ready and pumped up again. So it was like in August when we did our second transfer. And that one finally was successful, which was a huge blessing. I'm wearing this shirt that I wore on transfer day. I figured it was appropriate. But yeah, and at the time, I had 1 boy embryo and 4 girl embryos. So we said, just implant the next best one. And I for sure believed I was having a girl, statistic wise. And so for all 9 months, I'm like thinking, oh, my baby girl. And of course, when I deliver, yeah, they told me it's a boy. I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, let me see the penis. Like, it was crazy. I seriously thought I was gonna have a girl first. But I mean, which, after having both of my boys being the best graded, I knew that my 4 girl embryos were left. So it was nice
Right.
to know that I had no other option than just a girl. So but yeah, his name is Spencer. He's 3.5 now. He is just insane, and we love him. And yeah, he might be running up here pretty soon. So
I
um,
want to talk about something that you did and know the reasons of why you did it. Because when you did, you have always been transparent about your children's name
mhm.
ahead of time. She's always said in all her posts before they were born, she called them Genesis and Spencer. Like she didn't, it was what she said. They even did a gender, like a baseball, no, football
Uh-huh.
gender reveal of all of their embryos that they had. And then ever since she knew the genders, she called them Genesis and Spencer. So what was the reason for you, like, to just keep saying their names?
So for me, well, actually, we planned these names even before we were married. You know how
Okay.
you date and you're like, oh, we're gonna have kids and we're gonna name them this and that. And so my husband, his alter ego name was Spencer. And when he's out in Vegas and having fun or whatever, that was just his alter ego name. And it kind of just grew upon me. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have me a little Spencer, whatever." And it just grew upon me because I'm like, I don't know any little Asian boy named Spencer, and it just sounds so cute, and I just like fell in love with it. And um, so yeah, we picked that boy name. And then I've always loved the name Genesis just because it's the first book of the Bible, and I always knew that my first girl was gonna be Genesis. And if I was gonna have a second girl, I was gonna name her Eden, just because Eden's in the book of Genesis. So yeah, we had like names picked out and everything. Yeah, and this just went back to when we were dating. We just
Okay.
fell in love with those names. But
But
um,
even after your losses, like you had a failed transfer, you still stuck with the name
yep.
still. So what was the reason for that?
Yeah. Yeah, so the firstborn, since we didn't know if it was a boy or girl, we knew that whatever gender it was going to be, we were going to name it either Genesis or Spencer. And then my third transfer that failed, we knew that it was going to be girl because I only had four female embryos left. We knew that although that if she was going to be here on Earth's side, we were always going to name her Genesis. And I did think about that, like when I lost my two female embryos the third round, like is it weird still naming her Genesis? Like, should I grieve that and pick a new name?
Right.
And then my husband's like, no, like we always agree that whatever human baby that's gonna join us on Earth's side will have the name Genesis. And so that's how we just decided on that name.
And was there anything else that was like, did you have like low AMH or PCOS or anything like that?
Nope.
Nothing like that.
Just blocked tubes, yeah. And yeah, when we started our journey, I was 37, but when I gave birth to my son, I was 39.
Okay.
And so they RBA told me that I needed to wait at least a year. Um, I don't know why, but then a lot of my friends that have gone to the practice have done it in like 6 to 9 months. So I don't know why Dr. Sladen made me wait like a whole year because I wanted my kids to be closer in age. But yeah, he said, you know, he wanted my body to heal just because I was older and um I don't know. I really don't feel that old, but
You didn't have a C-section, did you?
both my kids I did.
That's probably why they made you wait a year
Yeah.
because of the
Oh yeah, yeah,
C-section.
yeah.
Because
That's
of the
true.
C-section. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the first one that failed. Second one, he's here. How were your feelings going into trying again for baby number two? Were you apprehensive? I know that you had a situation where you got to transfer day and your embryos did not thaw.
Or they destroyed it on thawing day.
They destroyed it on thawing day. Okay, well, so walk us through that.
So this was my third transfer, and we were gonna try for our baby girl. And after I had done all the shots and everything, you know, you go in, and when I got there, my legs were up, ready to. They put the catheter in me already, ready to roll in the baby. Right before they did that, they bring out the paper and say, "Hey, this is transfer number, blah blah blah. It's a female, whatever." And then she's like, "I just want to let you know that the first embryo that we thawed actually didn't make it. So we decided to thaw one out this morning and we're going to transfer that one instead." And I'm like, "What?" Because I was like my tears just started flowing. I don't even
Right.
know. Yeah, it was like I started to grieve that baby and then I had to be happy right back to back because I'm about to transfer another baby. And so I could not believe it. Yeah. So, and it's crazy because Dr. Sladen told me that 39 years of RBA, I'm the second person that they have ever destroyed the thawing process of an embryo. And I'm like,
Wow.
what are the odds? And so, yeah, I remember I was just like crying and the technician couldn't tell as if I was happy or if I was sad. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm feeling right now. Like, I'm
Right.
confused, you know, because again, it's just like, you know, you like, I wish that you would have told me that before my legs were up in the air, you know? So, but yeah, I was devastated. I mean, I knew that I always believe that your vibes, your emotions, play a big part in your body, your blood flow. And so I was like trying to like pump myself up, like, okay, you know what, it's done already. Like let's, let's get through this. And I was like trying to stay positive, but inside I was like dying. Yeah, it
Right.
was really really hard. And then when I saw my embryo, I was like, I mean, a part of me, I don't know what it was when I saw her, she was a small little baby, a little like embryo, and there was hardly any clusters. And when I went into it, when I saw the picture, I was like, she ain't gonna stick around. Like, that's just what my gut feeling was. And I was like, she's too small. I don't know why. I just, something in my heart just told me like, this one ain't gonna stick, but we're gonna pray about it. We're gonna believe the best in it, you know? And so, yeah, 10 days later, I mean, I did everything that I could. I mean, I took off work. I made sure I wore my warm socks. I didn't drink anything cold. I mean, I did everything that I did the first two times. And yeah, then my beta test confirmed that yeah, she didn't stick around, so it was really really hard.
So how were you feeling essentially going into that next transfer? Because I think you took like a small break before
Hmm.
you went back again, and did they change anything in your protocol or
You know, it's so crazy, they messed up my protocol.
what?
Yes, they messed up my protocol. On my fourth transfer. Yeah, so when I went back to the clinic, they said, okay, you need more progesterone. So they prescribed the wrong dosage, and here I was injecting myself the wrong dosage, and my husband's like, this is just, this isn't right. And so I was just like, okay, well, we'll see. But I knew it was wrong because I was breaking out. I had rashes all over my
Yes,
body,
I remember that.
and I'm talking about my lips were so big, my phone could not even recognize my face. Like, it was that bad. But I was pumping too much. And then so they pulled it back, and I just remember the day before my transfer, you know how you go in, you go get labs and stuff, and they're like, okay, um, you know, we'll let you know, how your levels are. And so the day before my transfer, the doctor calls me and tells me, look, your progesterone is too high. I strongly recommend that you don't do the transfer tomorrow, that we reschedule it for your next cycle. And, you know, I mean, it's up to you if you want to go for it, but I strongly recommend that you wait. And again, I am pissed because again, I've done all of these injections. I've spent all this money on all the medication. And so I was like, I told my husband, I was like, I mean, it was like 4 p.m. and I had to decide by 5 p.m. So I called him at, he was at work, and I'm like, what do we do? Like, I have to call them back in like an hour. What do we do? And he's
Right.
like, you know what? Get down on your knees. Like, let's pray right now. And so we did. And he's like, well, how do you feel about it? And I said, I think we should do it. I know my progesterone is high, but that morning I remember I was sitting at a stoplight, and I felt like, I just felt the holy presence like just hit me. And again, I just happened to have my phone out, and I was looking at it, and there was a light shining behind me. And my daughter's middle name is G, which means shine. And when I think about that embryo shining, and I just remember that, I was like, God, this is a sign. Like, you're just telling me I need to implant her. And so I told my husband, I'm gonna call him back. I'm gonna tell him we're transferring in the morning. And so I called him back, and they're like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like,
Right.
1000%. Like, not just because I've spent all that money, not because I've done all the medication, but something in my heart, like, just, you know, you have that gut feeling like, I feel good about this. And then that morning when I was holding her picture, I looked at her, and that cluster was so beautiful. It was like she was coming out of the petri dish, and I was like, oh, I was like, I feel so good about this one. And so yeah, it's just like positive vibes for the next 10 days. And on, I don't know if I know women are really they they always feel a certain way about testing early or not, but I'm like, I've never seen a positive pregnancy test, so I'm testing every single time. And so yes, I did. I tested, and so it was like day 7, and I swore the thing said negative. And I remember, because I was recording, I just like threw it. I was like, I cannot believe this. Like, she was supposed, like, she was meant to be, you know? And so then I remember I threw it on the counter, and and my husband was like getting ready for work, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine, it's fine. And then an hour
Wow.
later, I went back and just to grab it to like put it to the side or whatever, and I saw that little pink line. It was like very faint on positive. I was like, wait, what?
Wait a second.
Yeah. And so I was like, I grabbed like 3 other tests. I'm like, let me try and pee on these. And then I started seeing that faint line. I was like, God, you playing my emotions today. Like, But yeah, then yeah, she stuck around, and I'm just so grateful that she did. And she turns 1 on this Thursday, and we just
I
celebrated this Thursday
know.
a
You
little.
saw her birthday party.
So yeah, so my heart's happy. Yeah.
That's so great. And you had to have two C sections. Is there a reason why you had to have two C sections? Of why they suggested that for you?
Yeah, so with my son, with my first pregnancy, um, I had a high blood pressure, like borderline preeclampsia, and I did not plan for it. It definitely was an emergency C-section, and I just remember I had my whole list of what to do and what not to do. What is it called?
Your birth
Your
plan?
your birth plan. Yes.
Yes.
Had my birth plan and everything, and I told my husband, "Do not let me get a C-section. Do not let me get a C-section." I like repeated it. I said, "Whatever they say, do not let me." And after 48 hours in in labor, my doctor came in and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to have a C-section because yeah." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Where do I sign? Like, whatever, get me out of here." And my husband's like, "Okay, you do you right now. I ain't gonna fight with you." Yeah. And so, yeah, I think,
We have somebody in the audience who was just like that. She was
yeah,
like, I don't want to get no C-section. And then she was like, they trying to take my baby early. And I was like, it's okay if they take it early. She was adamant. She was like, no. Then she got to be like 30 something, 39 weeks. She said she was going to the hospital like, I think I'm in labor. They were like, no, ma'am, you're not in labor.
yes,
Get
yes.
this baby out of here.
Yeah, when you get to that point, you're just like, you know what, just whatever. Yeah, because I remember they put me on magnesium, and that was one thing that I did not want to be put on. And when they explained it to me, they said, okay, we're gonna put you on magnesium, and you're gonna feel like you got hit by a bus and you got the flu. And I'm just
Right.
like, wow, like that's so encouraging. And so after I gave birth to my son, they told me, okay, we have to give you magnesium again for 12 hours. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're telling me I'm gonna get hit by a second bus?
Like,
So
nope, get somebody else to do it.
it was insane. But yeah, I just remember like that moment. Because I was so drugged up, and when they gave my son to me because he was crying, and I said, "Hey baby," like something like that, and he just like got quiet, like he just stopped crying. And they were like, "Oh, he heard his mom's voice and he stopped crying." And then I was like looking at him, but I swear I mean I was drugged out, I could not see a thing. And they said, "Mom, do you want to say anything else to him?" And I said, "Give him to dad." Like I was so out of it. I was like, oh my gosh, like y'all pressure me to say and do something like very, pretty right now. And I'm like, I couldn't do it. Yeah.
It's okay. They don't remember anyway. And you can make up your own story about how, that. And we don't know. Just make up something.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But it was a blessing in disguise too, because my son went into the NICU right afterwards because he couldn't his weight, like what was it? His temperature, like it wasn't right, and so thank God that he went to the NICU because I wasn't well either, and I couldn't imagine if he was in the room with me, like we both wouldn't be able to take care of each other. So
Right.
it was a blessing in disguise, yeah. And then with my daughter, I was so traumatized with my son that I was like, I'm scheduling this one, but
So you got to schedule her birthday.
I did, and I picked 12/12. Yeah. But I had a hydrosalpinx also, which is like a fluid in my fallopian tube that my doctor didn't take out during the first C-section. So he said if you do this second C-section, I could just take it out. That way you don't have to come back and do like a third surgery. So I was like, you know what? Just that makes sense. Take the hydrosalpinx out, do the C-section all at the same time. And he said it's like literally took like 10 seconds to snip it out. So,
Right.
and it was bothering me for years. So I was like, okay, this is like, it was just meant to be. Yeah.
So let everybody know what that means. So people who are not sure what that means, and what does it do for you?
The hydrosalpinx or
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so it's a fluid in my fallopian tube and it kind of goes back and forth like this. And so they were afraid that um you know something was going to wash it away. Um and it could, because what it did was it started to inflame, like it started to get really big. Like I felt like something bulging in my, like it was like poking out of my stomach. Yeah. And so they were
Wow.
like, if you don't take it out, it's gonna move to different areas and you just don't know where it's gonna go, and it can inflame, it could burst, and I mean you could die. And so I was like,
Wow.
yeah, let's get this thing out. So
Okay.
yeah.
Did you know about, did they just monitor it before and then it just started to just get to a point where it was bothering you?
Mhm. So I guess I've always had it because I was having abdominal pain and I couldn't understand why. And they said that it was because, yeah, I had this hydrosalpinx, but it would come and bother me like from time to time, like let's just say like once or twice a year, and it would be like so bad. And of course the next year would come and I would like think like, it ain't gonna come back, it's fine, so I was like, I'm not gonna remove it, it's fine, it's fine. So I basically just kept it up, and now until like I like really had to do it. And
Right.
I'm kind of glad that I waited though, because I think the odds were during the transfer, like he scared me too. He said that, while I'm injecting all this stuff in me, the hydrosalpinx can make its way around, and it can um like it can push the progesterone and the estrogen one way or whatever. But they kept monitoring me like on a weekly and a bi-weekly basis. So everything was fine. If they said if we need to take it out, then we will. So I said, okay, yeah. So I waited. Yeah.
So now you're done, or well, basically we don't have really choice, but basically to be done, because you're saying if you wanted to have kids, you would have more kids if it was possible. But you do have one embryo, and you guys are deciding or contemplating donating it. So why not try it for another baby instead of just donating it?
Why not try for another baby?
Mm-hmm.
I think because that last round pretty much killed me. And I know what my body can do and can't do, especially at this age now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so we decided that we were going to donate her. But get this. So remember in the beginning, I told you we had 11 embryos that we sent out for genetic testing.
Yeah.
And the six that they deemed viable, they kept in the RBA clinic, but the other five that were not viable, they kept in a different clinic. And so I have that one girl embryo left at RBA, and when I called them and told them about donating the baby, they were like, "Okay, well we're gonna pull the other five, so really you have six embryos." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And so, a part of me and my faith, I always truly believe that an embryo is a baby, is a child, and I truly believe that, that God's gonna do something with them. And for them to deem it viable is what man says, but we don't know what God can do. And so
Right.
we've decided that we're going to donate all six of our embryos.
I love
And
it.
I mean, just because they're graded a certain, whatever, I have friends who um have had successful transfer, and they're graded like C's and D's and whatever, right? And that's what I have, C's and D's. And I'm like, I tried so hard for these babies. Why not try to give them a life,
Right.
So
And I think the reason why they do that is because they're trying to do the best possible. One, it just makes them look good. Okay, let's just be clear. It makes them look good if you use the best graded embryos. But they're not saying that they're not bad. They're just saying they're just poor grades. But we're gonna use these first because ultimately, if you would have went through all six of those, they would have pulled them bad boys out for you to
mhm.
use. For a best possible chance to bring in that home baby. And it makes sense. But then it's like you said, you're thinking I only have one embryo left, and now you're telling me, oh, girl, you got a whole Another squad over there in the back. Now,
Yeah.
when you're saying 4 rounds of IVF, you're just saying you did so you only did like one egg retrieval, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
you only did one egg retrieval, and then the other three were your other rounds, so just transfers is what you did.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
14.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Because I was
Yeah.
like, why did she do more than one egg retrieval? But no, that's okay because that makes sense. Because you had 6 good embryos. I was like, we don't need to
Hmm.
go back to the drawing board no more with those.
Yeah.
So now your babies are here, cute as a button.
Thank you.
Genesis looks so much like Spencer though. Like it's
Yeah.
like
I mean, and when you think about it, they're technically like twin bryos because
twins,
they're
right?
from the same batch, and I mean, their baby pictures, they're like identical.
I know.
So it's
Talk
so,
about them being here is real. Something that you've been waiting for pretty much your whole entire marriage.
Mhm.
How is it now? Them being here, did you have any issues? Because we talk about bonding, because if I have a child, then DNA, they're not related to me, and so people always think that your DNA, this automatically means like they're supposed to love you because they know. Did you have any postpartum issues with either one of them, bonding with them? Did you have anything like that?
Mhm. So I will say, I mean, with my son, it's like your first one, you don't know what to expect. I didn't have postpartum depression, but I did have postpartum anxiety. I mean, I think that's just like normal because you're thinking of all the what ifs could go wrong, but you're not thinking of all the what ifs that could go right. And
Right.
so I would say the first 4 months was really hard for me. I swear I thought my life was over. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm never gonna sleep again. I was like, this is so hard. At like, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks, I wanted him to like coo and talk to me already. And I'm like, oh, he doesn't love me because he ain't talking to me or whatever. Like I was expecting that at 2 weeks. I'm like, but now I know like my expectations were like way too high. Um, yeah. But yeah, no, it's a learning curve. I mean, it's definitely plays a big dynamic in our marriage, in our family, and I just feel like, I mean, with the addition of Genesis, I mean, we like it. I'm like, it's so hard to even breathe right now. Like, I know that this is only for a season, and I'm truly like trying to embrace it, especially like waiting so long to have these miracle babies. I mean, I look at them and I could cry every single day just by looking at their faces. Like, I cannot believe you're here. Like, I still like, God, I can't believe I'm responsible for other people other than me. Like, I cannot for the life of me believe it. But, again, I'm big in my faith, and I'm just like, nothing I did to deserve this. It was just a blessing that God was like, you know what, I'm gonna give her this. And honestly, I truly feel like, they're always gonna be God's children. They were never my children. And so I'm like, I offer it back to him and be like, God, give me the wisdom to raise your kids. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And um I do want to share this because I need some advice too for those that maybe have gone through this part, because now that I'm going through embryo adoption, I feel like I've been really, I don't want to say stressed and depressed about this, but I'm having a lot of emotions about it because I was like, at first I was like, I'm just gonna keep them frozen forever. Like, ain't nobody gonna have them. They're mine. I don't want to see another kid walking around looking like my kids. Like I felt like I was gonna be greedy about it. And again, I had to like really pray about it and be like, God, what do you want me to do with these leftover embryos? And I don't want to call them leftover embryos, but I'm just
Right.
like, I know that I've completed my family. I'm not going to physically have another one. And I know surrogacy is just so expensive. And I'm like, why? I could bless another family with them. And so it was hard for me to like, I keep thinking like, I'm going to see these children in another place or time. Like, what if they do 23andMe and like be like, why did my mom leave me? Or, like I just had all these feelings like open adoption. Like, if anyone has gone through open adoption, like, how open was it? Like, can you still write to them? Do you send them birthday cards, Christmas cards? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in that area, and I know that I need some counseling through it. I need someone to walk me through it. So if there's anyone that is willing or who has donated their embryos, like I would love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group you can definitely join. We have women who have donated their embryos. We have women who've come on here and donated their embryos. I personally haven't, and I do have embryos. And once I complete my family, I do plan to donate. I will say this: I think the fear of always is the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. But I see those moms who do get their embryos adopted, and they love their children so much. And I think it's a situation where I don't think that you need to have like all the answers. Um, because I will just give you an example. One person, they had one embryo, they donated them. She has her son, and they kind of had agreed like she would send pictures, and then the baby's here, and they've kind of pulled back a little bit, that they don't want the pictures anymore, but they know like he's okay. And I think that that was the apprehension of wanting the pictures, because you wanted to make sure that they were okay. But now that they see, and I think that she said that they're Facebook friends, and she said sometimes she likes it and sometimes she doesn't. But she said, I think it's a situation where she wasn't sure that I was going to be maybe a good mom to the child. But now that she sees, like, she doesn't want to know. And it's perfectly okay. So I think that should definitely, you can have a contract, but I think with the families, it should be like a situation of we can be flexible with how it is.
Mhm.
Because Sadie, she's gonna probably she's gotten donated embryos, and she's gonna come on, and I think that the children have met and those kind of things. And there's some other moms that they have met with the other children. I don't think that there's ever any right or wrong answer on how you navigate it.
Mhm.
That navigating it is how you do. I think the more important thing is just finding a family who's also going to be flexible in the situations too, as well, to say, hey, if I don't say anything, like, it's not like like I don't want to know, that it's hard right now,
Mhm.
and that maybe you don't need the pictures every month like you thought you did,
Mhm. Mhm.
or maybe you do need the pictures, that type of situation, that you guys are able to work out a situation where it's comfortable, because this is a situation that neither one of you have gone through, when it comes to donating or adopting embryos. This is still fairly a new thing,
Mhm.
um, in the medical industry,
Mhm.
so I think that you will figure out, once you find the right family,
Mhm.
that it will work out the way it's supposed to. Because yes, you feel like they're yours. You know how hard you worked. You know how much money you spent. And I think that's when I messaged you, when you were saying, but still in your heart, you feel like there's somebody who wants to be a mom, and I can help them be a mom or
Mhm.
help them be parents. And I
Mhm.
think that desire over your own personal feelings says a lot about who
Mhm.
you are.
Mhm.
And that's what I said. I've followed your journey since pretty much the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've always just been amazed of just how open you are. I like to see women of different nationalities speaking on their infertility,
Mhm.
because it needs to be talked about. But yeah, join our group, girl. We good. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? We talk.
send it to me. Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah, we have a good supporting. It's a really good safe space.
Okay.
But yeah, and just reach out. We have a ton of moms who have. I think Erica's in there. She's donated some embryos. We got a couple of women in there, and I think Erica's actually going to donate to, because she had I think she split hers up, and there's another mom who split hers up because she had a ton. to try to give the chance of everyone. Keisha's here. She
Yeah.
actually had eggs because she ended up going another route and using her cousin as the egg donor, and she donated her eggs to a girl who now has a daughter. Um, so we have a lot of moms who have done that in the group, and nobody has said that they regret it, you know. And nobody has said they've regretted getting the donor embryos either. And I think you may be shocked too. They may look a little bit different than Spencer and Genesis, and they may have totally different personalities from them too as well because they're in a different environment. So
Yeah. 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 No, yeah. Yeah, I love to hear their stories and how they felt about it. And because I keep telling my husband, I have attachment issues. Like, I'm gonna be looking up, they take care of my baby. But, as I've said, I truly believe that they're God's children. And if I'm a person of true faith, then I have to truly believe that God is gonna take care of them. And again, like I know how hard I've worked for him, and I know whoever's going to go through this is going to work just as hard, and they ain't going to do this for no reason. So I know that they're going to love this child.
would you
So
want someone who is culturally based as you, or does it matter?
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want them to be loved. Yeah. Hmm.
So, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to ask my last one for Diane. If y'all just joining us, she had blocked tubes. They tried for 10 years. And when they finally went to go seek medical intervention, they found out her tubes were blocked. If anybody has any questions before I ask my last one, um, this has been great. I I like that your story is not one of, how do I put it? Because you tried for so long and then to find out something was wrong, you know, and really you had a one egg retrieval, but you not taken that route, you would still be waiting or still, trying to, or maybe thinking about another alternate route with adoption or something like that. So every situation of infertility is not always overcomplicated. It could just be one thing. But if we don't find out those answers, we'll never get to the end result.
Hmm.
Um, so my last question to you is, what would be your advice, especially being your nationality, someone coming to you and saying, they're struggling with infertility? What would be your advice for them to get started and how to navigate this roller coaster that we call infertility?
Hmm. So the first thing I would say is um, I lost my train of thought. I would say just go for it. Like stop waiting, because I know a lot of women who just like me would just think like, I'm just gonna keep trying. I'm just gonna keep trying. I'm gonna just keep trying, let it naturally happen or whatever. And my advice is, just go seek a doctor to at least get the HSG done. At least get that done. At least get an ultrasound done and figure out what the issue is, because like you're never going to have answers if you don't move also. Like, I always think like, you know, faith without deeds is dead, right? Like you gotta move. And so that's one thing that I regret. I wish that I would have started earlier instead of like going through the blame game and going through all this in my marriage and stuff, all I had to do was just go and figure out what was the issue, and then we can move on from there.
Right.
um, and I will have to say, with women of the Hmong culture, of my culture, um, it's very taboo to talk about IVF also. And so I got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to share this because I know a lot of women are suffering. And it has opened doors for so many Hmong women. And I'm just so proud that they're finally saying something. And even those that went through IVF, I did not know. And they would message me and be like, girl, like I did it too. And I'm like, how did I not know? Like we used to go to the same church, and like I would have never known. And then there are girls who are wanting to go through it because they desire a child so much. And I'm like, hold my hand, like let's go through this together. And so I'm just I'm just so proud of we're not just me, but even you, like all of us, like we're finally talking about this instead of living in shame and just like, I don't know. It seemed like it's such a bad thing, but it's not. It's like very beautiful, this community that we have. And so I'm just grateful for it. But I would say, yeah, just get started. Like, don't wait. Like, the longer you wait, the years are gonna pass by. Yeah. So.
And it's the interesting thing that you said, like the shame and the guilt, because now, they're here. Does the shame and guilt go away, or is it still there?
For me, I found freedom. I found freedom of sharing my story. I was like, that anybody can say what they want. Like, I know how God looks at me. I know, what he's freed me from. So I actually felt a lot of freedom sharing my story. And I hope and pray that other people do too, instead of feeling that way.
I do too. I feel like the same that way that you did. Like for a while, like I didn't really say, you know, what my issues were. And I shared it in the community, but I never was like public about it. And
Hmm.
so it's definitely been free knowing that me sharing this, now people know like what to do and where to go, and that there is a space that does exist, because my feelings, I think the same are for yours, is when people don't know where to go, they think that they're the only ones.
Hmm.
And now
Hmm.
they're able to see that there are other women who are like them, especially in smaller communities, smaller cultural communities, that, oh, it's okay for me to go to the doctor and ask what's
Hmm.
going on.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
what I tell people all the time is prayer is there. It's a little bit of science, a whole lot of God still. But
Hmm.
he made doctors for this reason, to go for you to get help. We can pray. We're not gonna take that away. We're gonna pray. We're gonna have our faith. We also gonna find out about what's wrong.
Hmm. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
We also gonna find out what's wrong with why we not having a baby. We're gonna do that
Yes.
too.
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
That's what we're gonna do too. So I want to thank you
Yeah.
for sitting down with me and sharing your journey. Um, I hope that someone who watches this is just as touched as I am about sharing your story. If you're on Instagram, you can definitely follow her. Tell us your Instagram handle.
It's moi dot Diane. It's moi MOUA, like moi. Um, yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Because I don't even remember my name. I just
It's your name on
moi
Instagram.
dot Diane.
She has stories of all her journey on there too as well. She even did it like in a little capsule form, so that you can see her whole entire journey. It was beautiful. I watched it in real time. So we can talk about these stories, but like she said, when she got that devastating news about her embryos and all that kind of stuff, like it was very hard. So it's good to see those emotions in real time, to see that, you know, now that she's here and these babies are here, she didn't know that these babies are gonna really be here or not. But I loved your positive attitude on it. As I said, I love when you did your little gender reveals. It was so cute. And I even enjoyed the fact that you, no matter what, you kept their names. Um, and I knew, I was like, okay, well, Genesis, okay, Genesis and Spencer.
Yep. Yeah. No.
And she used those names, and I love that you spoke their names all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure like now, because you used to speak them and they weren't here, and now that they're here, like it just feels different.
It does. Yeah. Again, I still look at them and I'm just like, I cannot believe you're here. Like, I cannot. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna end this with a song, and I know you are faith based. So do you have a song that you used to listen to? Because I did one of your videos, and you had a song that you were playing. So what was your go to song when you were going through infertility?
Ooh, I got so many. Oh my goodness, why am I like so blank right now? I know I have so many. Um, Let me think of my favorite one, huh? Okay, keep talking.
Keep talking. It's you.
Oh,
It's your time to shine.
I know. I have so many. Goodness of God.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'll get with you if you know some other women that would love to share their story. But we're booked till February, and I just cut it off. So we got January, February, and I'm like, all right, I'll be back to open them up for March in the new year. March, and then March and April I'll open up. So you came in at a good time,
Woo! Yay! I know.
and that is it. You are done. You did good.
Sorry for blabbing, but thank you for your time, and I just want you to know that I'm praying for you as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. See, so I'll drop you down. You good to go.
Okay. All right. Good night, guys. Okay. Bye.